For the longest time, I've just had this one white fender in the back, but now I'm going to replace it with black fenders, both front and back. Ooh.
Oh my God.
You know, we've got baby strollers and bikes and dancing children. I don't even know. She gets her moves from her mother. Back of the Bronco has turned into a place to house junk. But today what we're working on are fender flares. So these are the fenders from Tom's Bronco Parts. They come with the self-tapping screws and some of the welting, whatever that stuff is. And then these. Now, when I bought these, they were on sale from Tom's because Tom's recognized that the paint on here would start to come off pretty quickly. And so they were trying to get rid of them. So I don't know if they're still on sale or not. I'll put a link in the description below where you can check that out. That you can see, like right there, it's like already coming off. So what I'm going to do first is I am actually going to sand these down and take off all of this paint and then repaint them before I put them on. All right, now you can see the difference of what I just wiped down with acetone and then how they were regularly. So it's a little bit shinier once you get that paint off and wipe it down with some acetone. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a gray Scotch-Brite and just kind of wipe all this down again. And that's just to scuff it up a little bit. This gray Scotch-Brite, it's like a, I don't know, 400 grit, 500 grit sandpaper, and so it'll just kind of scuff it up so that my new paint is going to stick to it, so it has something to adhere to when I put some new paint on there. I'm not in my garage anymore. I'm over at my buddy Kevin Tate's shop. And we're gonna finish up the fenders. Now, Kevin is a good friend. I film his show, Hands on Cars, where he's building a sweet C10 pickup truck. He's a paint guy, so I'm gonna finish these up over here. If you're doing this, you don't need a paint friend to finish up your fenders, but it just helps that I have one, and so why not use his shop for this? Now what we're going to do is drill our holes, and then we're going to do a final prep on these fenders, and then we will actually paint them. Now what we're going to be painting them with is this plastic resurfacer from Eastwood. It's made for plastic and it's made to be out in the sun. I'll put a link in the description below where you can pick some of this up. Now that they're all clean, we are going to paint them. Now, it is totally overkill to paint them in a paint booth. But when you have a paint booth, why not paint them in a paint booth? 2 to 4 light coats, light to medium coats of this stuff on there. Don't try to get it all in one coat. Take your time and do it right. So So that was one coat, and you may say, hey John, why don't you get Kevin to paint your Bronco? But I say no. I love the color of my Bronco. I love how rusty it looks. I do think that painting Fender Flares in a paint booth is overkill. But what is really overkill is slow-mo painting Fenders in a paint booth. So we got 4 coats on. This one's still drying, or 3 coats on, and it's looking really, really good. And if you noticed the beautiful wall art here, this is Kevin and I are working, or Kevin is working on a course. I'm just helping him film it on how to paint. So if you guys want a course on painting, there's some good technique for you. Definitely check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. But yeah, these are coming out really nice. One of the important things that I want to do is make sure that this gap right here is the same on the front and on the back. Now the other thing that I am measuring is the distance from the flare to the tire on each side. All right, now we're back at home and trying to wrap this up. Now, one of the things, I'm out of my garage because I want to get enough room so that I can see both of the flares at the same time. I've marked my line. This is the line on both fenders, that it is the same distance from this trim. Your eye is going to look at this trim when you're looking at the side of the Bronco, so this should be equal distance front and back, and then this should feel level with the trim. You can see here, this is where my old fender hole is, so I actually have to move this a little bit more to cover that up, which makes it a little bit closer than I would like to the passenger door. And then one of the things that I have to watch for up here is there's quite a big gap here. If I keep it level up at the top, there's a big gap here down below. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that right now. Probably what I'm going to do is just kind of get it in place and then possibly cut it later, or I'm just going to kind of look and see what the options are with that. But for now, I'm just going to kind of leave this lip. So what I'm doing is I put one of the self-tapping screws in and left the top where it was, where my marks were, and put one of the other screws, self-tapping screws in. Then that gives me the whole top open to where I can put this welting in, get it in place, screw a couple of these screws in, and then I'll back these out, take them out, and follow the welting around. So that's what I did to the front, and it looks really good. Now, just for time, because I want to get this done, I only put in half the screws. I'm gonna do that to both sides and finish this video up because it's been too long. Just call out a very important part of fender replacement, and that is good form. Okay, I know you saw it. Got the rear one on, and another good reason to go every other, I had this one in right here, and I noticed that the back, this side, was just sticking up a little bit more than what I wanted. And so I ended up pulling this one out and I think it was this one out, and putting this one back in and just kind of pushing on the whole thing to get it a little bit more level so that they look really level, and it's looking really, really good. So that's it. We're gonna end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about what I did, feel free to leave it in the comments below. If you've done this and you have a better way of doing it, leave that in the comments below as well. And Tom's Bronco Parts actually put out a video on how to install the flares. They did it at the shop, and it's a really good video, so definitely check that out. I'll put a link to that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.